Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. This Thanksgiving has been eye opening, to say the least. I walked into dinner tonight with a boyfriend, and I think I may be walking out as a single woman. I'm big on journaling, so I just excused myself to the restroom to write this out and collect my thoughts. Let me explain. My name is Cassie, 23, and my boyfriend's name is Jason, 27, male. We met in college 5 months ago, and he moved in with me about 3 months ago. I know that might seem fast to some people, but Jason treats me better than anyone ever has. From the day we met, he's always showered me with love and has made me feel like the most special person in the world. My love language is words of affirmation, so he's been absolutely perfect for me. Or so I thought. Until tonight. I didn't realize he's also a big fat liar. This Thanksgiving dinner was kind of a big deal because it also happened to be the first time I'd be meeting Jason's parents. Of course, I was nervous, but he assured me that they would love me. I was feeling pretty confident about the whole thing until Jason said something unexpected on the car ride over. Hey, Cass, if my parents ask, please don't let them know that I'm in between jobs right now. I just don't want them to worry. I was a little taken aback, but I agreed. I understood him not wanting to have his parents pry, but the truth is, I've been starting to get a little worried about his unemployment as well. Jason got laid off from his job a week after he moved into my apartment. It was really hard on him because he had worked really hard to get that job as a junior software engineer for a large firm. He's started putting in applications to other companies, but so far hasn't gotten past the interview for any of them. Prior to him moving in, we had agreed we'd split rent and other expenses 50-50. But I told him not to worry about it until he finds another place to work. I didn't want to cause him any more stress or have him burn through his savings. Besides, I was already paying for the apartment on my own before he moved in, so I didn't think paying for it on my own a little longer would hurt. My job as a senior copywriter makes me a decent amount of money, definitely enough to cover both of our costs for a while. But now it's been months and Jason still hasn't found another job. It seems like the more time has gone on, the more comfortable he's gotten with being unemployed. Most days when I get home from work, he's still in his sweats playing video games. It's been a couple of weeks since his last interview, and I don't want to pressure him too much, but I'm worried he's stopped applying for new jobs altogether. Especially after what happened out there at the dinner table tonight. When we arrived at his parents' house, I was quickly introduced to his parents, aunts, and uncles, and cousins. They all seemed nice enough, but they all gave me a funny look, almost pitying, and I couldn't figure out why. Eventually, we all sat down to eat, and everything was going fine until Jason's uncle brought up work. He asked me what I do for a living. I told him I'm the senior copywriter for a marketing agency. He raised his eyebrows and gave a surprised nod. How's business going these days? He asked. It's going great, I said. We've gotten quite a few new clients just this month. Jason's mother stifled a laugh through a cough. When she realized all eyes were on her, she said, I'm sorry, I was just under the impression that your line of work is not very lucrative. She looked at Jason as she said this. I looked at him confused. He looked like a deer in headlights. Cass does okay for herself, he said, stuttering nervously. His father raised his eyebrows at him. Really? That's not what I remember you saying when we had to spot you for rent at the beginning of the month. Now I was even more confused. What the hell was he talking about? I paid for rent this month and every other month. Jason, what is he talking about? I asked. He's talking about the fact that the second you shacked up with a high earning man, you lost all control of your spending, said his mom. We know all about how you like to blow through your earnings, and his as well. There was a long, deeply uncomfortable silence after she said this. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out what she was talking about. But then it hit me. I think Jason has been using me all along. I let out a long exhale and glared at Jason. Wow, I can't believe you. I quickly explained to his parents that they had it all wrong. Jason has been jobless for months now, and I have been the sole earner in our relationship. Apparently, they were under the impression that rather than getting fired, Jason had just recently been promoted, and then he had leased a nice new apartment and asked me to move in with him. Then he told them that I was a terrible spender and that I had blown all of my money, and most of his as well, on ridiculous things, to the point that now we couldn't even pay rent. Feeling sorry for their son, they sent him the full amount of rent for that month, urging him to break up with me as soon as possible. I corrected them and said that it has been my apartment all along and that I had asked Jason to move in only a week before he lost his job. I also made sure to clarify that I am the one who pays the rent, including this month's rent. They were shocked. Jason, sweetie, why would you lie to us like this? His mother asked. And more importantly, if Cassie has been paying for everything, what did you do with all the money we sent you? His dad asked angrily. I could tell from Jason's expression that he realized he had been caught. There would be no talking himself out of this one. He came clean, saying that he had actually lost his job and has been unemployed this entire time. He insisted that he has been looking for a new job, but nothing has worked out yet. He told them that I have been supporting him. Then he sheepishly admitted that he had spent all of the money they had sent him on online sports betting. At this point, his mother began crying. She excused herself from the table and went into her bedroom and closed the door. It was all just too much for her to handle. Jason's father looked absolutely furious. He said he was so disappointed in Jason and that he couldn't believe his own son would lie to them like this. That's when Jason turned on me. Damn it, Cassie, I told you not to bring up my work. You know that I'm looking for a job. In just a few more weeks, none of this would have even been an issue. I actually saw tears begin to form in his eyes. At that point, just like Jason's mother, it was all too much for me to handle. I quickly stood up from the table and rushed to the restroom. And now here I am, mind reeling, trying to figure out what the hell to do from here. I thought Jason was the guy for me, up until just a few minutes ago. He has never yelled at me before. That stung almost as much as being lied to by him. I've never met anyone else who makes me feel the way he does. But was it all a charade? Was he just pretending this whole time so he could use me for my money and my apartment? I'm so lost. I have no idea what I'm going to say when I go back out there. All lies aside, I know that he really has had a hard time since getting laid off. Am I wrong for feeling like I need to dump his ass right here and now in front of his entire family? I honestly have no idea what I'm going to say when I go back out there. I guess I'll keep you updated. Well, my hunch was correct. I did walk out of that dinner a single woman, and thank God I did. When I came out of the restroom, it seemed the whole evening had fallen apart. Jason had broken down into full-blown blubbering tears, and half of his relatives had already left, while the other half were awkwardly excusing themselves. While I was in the restroom, Jason's father had really let loose on him. Apparently, Jason was receiving more money from them than just the cost of rent at that one time. He was practically getting a monthly allowance from them. His father had said that after tonight, Jason was completely financially cut off. Additionally, until he curbed his online gambling addiction, he didn't want to be around Jason anymore. Jason was not taking this well at all. He was sobbing, begging his father not to cut him out, and once he saw me return to the table, he redirected his pleas towards me, begging me not to leave him, spewing apologies. It was honestly the least attracted I've ever been to a man in my life. It was obvious that Jason was used to being able to con everyone around him into giving him what he wanted. And now that he was losing it all, he had no idea how to function. I told him right then and there that I was leaving without him. I was so thankful that we drove my car that night. I said that he could pick his stuff up in a few days, but other than that, I never wanted to see him again. That was yesterday, and I expected myself to be a lot more upset, but honestly, I'm just relieved. It would have been one thing for me to break up with a guy who was simply down and out on his luck, but breaking up with a guy who clearly has entitlement issues leaves me feeling no guilt at all. I'm just happy I got out when I did. Holy crap. An even crazier update to my story. It's been 2 months since I kicked Jason out. A new semester has started, so I have all new classes. I met a girl named Ashley in my creative writing class, and we really hit it off. She comes over to my place a couple of nights a week to hang out and study. Last night, we were hanging out, watching a movie and having a couple of glasses of wine, when suddenly she asked, "Who is that?" At first, I didn't know who she was talking about, but then I realized she was looking at a tiny photo frame that I had on a table in the corner. The photo was of me and Jason. I realized I had forgotten to take down the photo. "Oh, that's my ex-boyfriend, Jason," I said. She jumped up and picked up the photo frame. "No, that's my ex-boyfriend, Jason," she said. We were both stunned. She explained that she had met Jason at our college last year and had dated for a few months. Then, to my shock, she explained her entire relationship with Jason. It almost exactly resembled my relationship with him. Started dating, quickly moved in with her, lost his job, and then mooched off of her for a while until she called him out on it. But before they broke up, Ashley happened to go through his phone and realized he has done this to multiple other girls as well. Jason has never had a job. He's just a serial dater who jumps from unsuspecting girl to unsuspecting girl, meaning he has been lying to his parents all along as well. What an absolute creep. I'm so glad I got out when I did. NTA, you definitely went wrong for leaving him. He deserves to be alone. ESH. To be honest, I think everyone is a little bit at fault here. You need to grow a backbone and stand up for yourself sooner and not be so naive. Both you and Jason's father need to be aware of the fact that he has an active gambling addiction and probably needs help. And addict or not, Jason definitely is a jerk for repeatedly using girls like that. Long story short, moved into a house across the street from a school in May. Had no issues. Beginning of this school year, had the same car block my driveway for 2 weeks. We could barely get our oversized vehicles into the small, narrow driveway with the car parked there. There's also a no parking 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. sign right there also. I called the front lobby to ask them to move. Next day, I asked a worker to ask them to move. Following day, they were there again around 2:45 p.m. So I left a nice note explaining my husband works rotating shifts and he's notorious for backing into things, and I don't want their vehicle to end up being hit at some point. If they could please park 5 feet behind where they are parking now. The very next day, the car was in the middle of the road, parked, and traffic could barely get by. Mind you, we have to deal with the car rider line as well as this specific car parking in front of our driveway. So I posted on our private Facebook group asking if anyone else had this issue, and if so, what did they do? And before anyone suggests it, I did not want the car towed or for them to get in any trouble. That was at 3 p.m. Gave no description of the car. 3:45 p.m., the principal told me to call her directly, then had me walk out to explain what the issue is, and then proceeded to scold me and essentially told me to shove it, that she didn't want them parking in the parking lot and I couldn't have them towed. I explained, no, I didn't want them towed. I just wanted 5 feet to be able to not have to jangle my way into my driveway. 6 p.m., I am cussed out by a teacher and told I had no consideration for teachers and what they do. I have kids. I am also a teacher at another school and would never park in front of someone's driveway and tell that person to deal with it because previous owners allowed it. Also, the previous owners I knew, and they didn't mind because they were not home during the time the car parks there. I also have been home on maternity leave since school started. Had a C-section a week after school started, and twisting and turning to get a better view has been hard. She then called me insane and unstable and blocked me after calling me a liar that I never left a note. I'm scared for my safety. I go by the Nest security system and it's been 2 months. No other cars park in front of my driveway for more than a day. Nothing is consistent, so I don't do anything. Until Friday, the same car parked in front of my driveway again. I pull in today and with tons of parking spaces in the parking lot and tons of space on the illegal street behind her, but she had to park in front of my driveway. I irrationally called the non-emergency line and reported cars parked on this street during the no parking hours every single day. Then a cop showed up and wrote a warning. I saw and quickly pulled my car into the garage. Now people are outside taking pictures of my house and driveway and screaming on the phone about it. Did I go too far? I was mad that they got away with cussing me out, and my husband thinks I may have been a little irrational, but it was my decision, and he will stand by it. NTA, we live in a society, people give and take. The first time maybe was an accident, but after that, this person parked in front of your driveway intentionally instead of moving a few feet so you could exit, and have enlisted an army to pile on and gaslight you as if you are the crazy one for wanting to access your own property. If these people don't have the decency and sanity to compromise by moving a mere 5 feet, I would have them towed every time. NTA, but you need to report the principal to their supervisor immediately. They should be letting employees, even aftercare employees, park on the school grounds to begin with. Also, their behavior of not dealing with the situation and being unprofessional needs to be addressed. Same with the teacher. The kid is probably being told by mommy to keep parking there and don't worry about what you say. I would immediately, though, speak to a lawyer and get to know all your legal rights, not just make assumptions of what they should be. Along with researching what the laws are about parking on public residential streets. Have everything in writing and document everything being said and done. Then make a decision on what your next legal step is going to be. I, 35, female, am married to Josh, 37, male. Josh has a child, Nate, 15, male, from his previous relationship, which I treat as my own. My in-laws have decided to visit us and stayed with us for 2 weeks as we have a bigger house and they live on another end of the country. I didn't mind that as I assumed I would be working most of the time. I currently work from home as recently my anxiety has been through the roof due to something that happened in the office. However, after the first few days, I discovered that my in-laws are way too much for me to handle right now in my current state. They are very talkative, demand attention all the time, including while I'm working, want to spend time as a family 24/7, and give unsolicited advice on everything. Each of them is also incredibly picky what to eat. So the easiest option to accommodate their pickiness is to order a takeaway, which is something we have been doing for a week. Unfortunately, my in-laws are also too much for Nate. He absolutely hates their company as they wouldn't shut up about his personal life and keep asking questions. I have managed to avoid them by locking up in my office for the last week and gaming after office hours while saying everyone I'm very busy at work and pretending I'm working. I need to relax, and their presence affects my mental health too much. Seeing Nate in the same situation made me suggest for him to do the same, and then both of us can sneak out somewhere later in the evening and during lunch for food, which he agreed to. So he told them he has an important school project. So after school, he can spend time with his friends without being nagged or just read or game in his room instead. Well, my husband has discovered what me and Nate have been doing. After some pressure from my in-laws and my husband, Nate said it was me who suggested this as he was feeling overwhelmed with all the attention. Yesterday, Josh, my mother-in-law, and me had a big argument about it, where both Josh and Jenna, mother-in-law, said I shouldn't teach Nate bad behaviors and what an a-hole I was for playing games instead of cooking for them. I have reminded that we have plenty of takeaways in the fridge and some of the meals I made on the weekend that just require to be put in the microwave. But I'm still a bad guy. AITA? NTA. House guests are like fish. They begin to stink after 3 days. 2 weeks is an incredibly long time for you to have to babysit your spouse's parents. By the way, what's he cooking for them? NTA. If the family are staying, they are not guests. They are not there to be waited on by you as if you were their servants. Why don't they get organized, go out and buy the ingredients and cook for you? After all, you're the one working to provide them with free accommodation.